thanks for joining us for another edition of City Matters. And I have as a guest today Ward 3 Councilman Wesley Bell. Wesley, thanks for joining us.
Man, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Let's start to talk. I know people know about like the education background, stuff like that, but talk a little about you. I know you like sports.
Absolutely.
Who do you like?
What sport?
All right, go.
Because I follow them.
Who do you like?
And I'm a Cardinals fan, obviously.
Yes.
If you come from this area and you live and breathe, you'll be a Cardinals fan.
Okay.
And I'm definitely in that mold, if you will. Football, I'm a former Cowboys fan, but I kind of gave that up, and now I support our home team. Well, hopefully they're going to remain our home team, the Rams. Basketball, I'm a Kobe fan, but you know we never had a team, so I kind of roll with players. So now I'm with Steph Curry.
All right.
So as Kobe transitions out, I'm riding that Golden State wave.
All right.
So,
what did you do? I know in this past year it's probably difficult to carve in free time, but in your free time, or do you even make sure to carve out that free time?
Man, you know, I'm starting to forget what that actually means.
Yeah, like personal time.
You know, I'm a traveler.
Okay.
I do like to travel, and I've done a lot of traveling in my time, and I'm a movie person.
All right.
So if I get free time, I'll cut out to the movies in a heartbeat. You know, and I'm a foodie, so you know, I like good food.
What do you like? What food? What like types of food?
You know, I mean, I do like seafood, of course, and Italian, but I mean, I like all different kind of foods. But it's good food.
All right.
Good food.
Okay. Do you cook?
I can do the basics.
Let's see. Okay, I'm with you.
I can cook some pancakes up, some eggs.
You're a very
anything
basic. Beyond
that, you're getting beyond my area of expertise.
All right.
I can eat well though.
But it's okay.
I can put it down. Yeah.
All right.
So.
In your growing up, did you always, or did you ever just say, "Hey, I want to be an attorney," or what were you like growing up?
You know what? I was one of those kids that knew exactly what he wanted to do, and I wanted to practice law. So I don't know if you remember L.A. Law. That was one of the shows growing up that I loved that made me want to be an attorney. And as I grew up and learned more about the field, it didn't change. Okay. Now politics had. Never really thought about it. Was interested in it as I got into college, and because I was a political justice major and public management major at Lindenwood. Okay. But I was more thinking of the from the behind the scenes aspect, or city managing and things of that nature. Gotcha. Didn't think about actually ever running for office. Okay. So that wasn't in the plan. Gotcha. Or the playbook, if you will. So.
And what changed? You know, coming up in particular right before you decided to run.
You know what, I think as I start getting involved in more current events and just as you get to a point, because you know, out of law school I was focusing on my practice and my career, and as a result, you know, you kind of stay in your tunnel vision. And as I start getting more established, and you start paying attention to current events and volunteering your time and getting involved in the community and stuff like that, that's where it kind of that's where the idea started to get planted in my head that maybe I should run, you know, consider getting involved in politics. So
and now that you are in the thick of it, I mean, what did have you ever just had a day you're like, man, I'm good. This is
every day you get up and you're like, man, what do I? You know, you just got to keep pushing though, because the one thing about politics, because there are there's some baggage that comes with it, but one thing about politics that I think a lot of people forget about is that it's about helping people. At the core of it, it's about helping people, and so you know, there's not another position or another field where I can help so many people in so many different ways. And so that's kind of the motivation on those days when you're just like, man, I really don't want to get out of bed today, is that you start thinking about all these people you can help, and sometimes just showing up somewhere, helps people, helps causes, or helps different not-for-profits or organizations, whatever. So, I think that's probably the motivator is that, you get such a great opportunity to help people, and I think sometimes we forget about that. I'm not gonna say we, because I don't.
Yeah.
But now I think sometimes politicians forget about that. What it's supposed to be about.
Does it, I guess, help, or maybe is it more meaningful that you are from this area, that the things, the decisions you're making, the conversations you're having directly impacts
Absolutely.
people,
Absolutely. When you can, when your friends and family, they're gonna be honest with you. Sometimes when we don't know people as well, we tend to be polite, and nothing wrong with that. But you're the people who are gonna say you the truth. And when those people are looking at you and saying you're doing a good job, you're probably doing a good job. And so my thing is, when I play sports, I play for my coach, because I know if the coach is happy, that means I'm doing well. That means the team's doing well. And so when I look at politics, I kind of use that same mindset that I'm playing not for my constituents. I'm in this for to those people, and if they're telling you you're doing a good job, you're probably doing good. So, but it's always a work in progress. So I think you got to keep pushing. You can't get to the point where you just want to lay in bed all day. Although it's Christmas time, so I'm gonna get a few of those days. But you gotta keep pushing, because there's always someone you can help. And every day you take off is a day that you're not that you could potentially be doing something that you're not now. And so we're only human, and we got to take time for our families, and that's important. And I know I can be kind of a workaholic, but that's kind of what keeps me going, because there's going to be a day when you don't have the energy to do it. So.
And I guess in particular for young men, young African American men from Alton, where your background is in Alton, and just this area, what kind of conversations do you get a chance to have with those kind of guys or young ladies?
I think being from the area, because like we talked about previously, I was actually born in Alton, and we moved here somewhere around 10, 11-ish, something like that. And I've been in North County ever since. And being from here, going to junior high here, going to high school here, playing football, playing sports and things of that nature, there's a connection there. So, there's a lot of different ways you connect with people. And one way is when you're from the same place, when you can relate to their experiences, and they know that. When the same streets that they're on, that you grew up on, there's a natural connection there. And there's other ways you can connect, but that is one that is organic, if you will, and it gives me a way to kind of talk to some of our young people, and plus teaching. As an educator at the college here in Ferguson, the Florissant Valley campus, I get a chance to deal with young people every day. Just left a group of young people, and being a professor, one of the great things about being a professor is I can talk about whatever I want on any given day. But tying those things into the curriculum to make them real to students, and that helps you strengthen that connection, because as an educator, it's not just about the curriculum; it's about making them better people. And so, if my goal is not just for them to learn the material, my goal is for them to grow as people during that class as well. So we'll talk about all different kind of things. We kind of tie it into the subject matter, but sometimes we just talk about life too.
Who, growing up or even as an adult, is there one person, be it a family member or a third grade teacher, who either kept you on the right track or at one point in your life pulled you by the coattail and said, listen?
I think I was fortunate that I had several people like that. My mother was the constant. Most of what I become is probably a result of her, but there's some others there. My dad. I was fortunate to have two fathers. My dad, who moved to Atlanta when I was young, but he was so involved in my life. But when my mother remarried, my stepfather was just as involved, and they were friends. And so growing up, that's what I patterned myself after. I saw, two people where you see, oftentimes in families you see tension between the father and the stepfather. I didn't see that when my dad would come in town. My stepfather would have that not only would he stay with us, but he'd barbecue. And so I got to see them. I got to follow their patterns. So I got to pick and choose from two different people, but then so many other people as well. But then teachers growing up. Professor Cernick at Lindenwood. He's probably the person that really turned me on to academia, with the way that he approached the subject matter in a comprehensive view, and forced you to look at things from both sides, because it's easy when you see a situation to look at it from the view that we're comfortable with. And I tell that to students all the time. I teach criminal justice, so I have students that they come in, sometimes they're completely pro-police officer, sometimes they're completely anti-police officer, and with both of them, we're going to look at it from a comprehensive view. Let's seek to understand before being understood. And that's one of the lessons I got from Dr. Cerny. But man, I like I said, I was fortunate. There's so many people I can point to that had an influence in me.
We're going to take a break right there. We're going to talk more about some policing issues in just a minute. We'll be right back with more of City Matters.
If you say Ferguson, everybody knows what Ferguson is and where it is.
But the biggest thing is, it's just a great group of people in this community. I mean, people are like family.
In Ferguson, we're growing.
Here in Ferguson, we're determined to continue edifying the community.
In Ferguson, we're thriving.
Giving back to the community.
We're all a part of Ferguson. With your help, we're moving Ferguson forward.
Okay. I'd like to finish school, but with kids and a job, I can't find the time to go to class. I have a few hours here and there. I would have to drive, park, and try to make it on time. Whoa, that's a lot to ask. If I could find a program that worked around my schedule, I would do it.
Lindenwood Online. Responsive faculty, smooth registration, quality education. We have your answers.
All right, we're back with more of City Matters, and let's pick up where we had left off about policing kind of issues. You've been a real proponent about community policing and things like that. Talk about that a little bit.
I think we have the research now, we have the case studies, and it's shown to work. It's proven to work. Nothing man-made is going to be perfect, but as far as what is the most effective way to strengthen public trust and confidence in police departments is community policing. What keeps communities safer as well as law enforcement officers safer is community policing. It's about information. It's about information going two ways as opposed to the traditional models.
But break that down a bit more about what that looks like. I mean, is it just everybody's buddy, or is it?
No, there's a science to it. There is a science to it. Now, it's easy to talk about. We hear the rhetoric of an officer getting out of his car, which is true. Get out and talk to people, but. Again, it's about information going two ways. Typically, if there's an issue in a community, police departments will implement a policy and they will start executing it. And so if you're a resident who doesn't know, and now an officer is pulling you over because of some initiative that they've begun internally, and you don't know about it, you might be put off. But if you're a part of that process, if you had input in that process, and now you're getting pulled over, and you've had buy-in with that, well, that interaction is going to go a whole lot differently. And also, when an officer is a part of the community, he or she is going to handle that situation a lot differently. If it's harder to hate and be upset and be combative with someone you know. And we've seen that time and time. As angry as you can be, you got that family member that can calm you down and say, come on, calm down, bring it down. And that's the same in the community. If you have an officer that people know, and there's some trust established there, they're going to handle that situation differently. And then when you got people that can stand up and vouch for that officer, it also is going to help that situations that can come to a head at some time. So I think across the board we've seen it in California after the riots. And LAPD was notorious as far as their reputation was concerned. They've done a lot to rebuild a lot of the trust and by implementing community policing. And you've seen officers coach baseball and football games with kids.
That goes a long way.
Absolutely, absolutely. You see what Chief Anderson has been doing since he's been here, but then there's some other ones like the North County Cooperative. They're doing a good job of that. They have a citizens police academy. They played some of the young kids in basketball. So I think we're heading in that direction, and I think now we're starting to have these kind of dialogues, which are important.
I know I've talked to a lot of people about in some of my experiences, even in other states that I've lived in, where I've gotten pulled over for speeding or something like that, and the officer came up but was polite, very professional. I still got a ticket. He was, it was very, but it was just the professionalism that even as I walked, drove away. It's like, you know what? he had a job to do, and he did his job, but he treated me nice. He was respectful. Because I hear that a lot from young people. They say, well, it's all about respect, and that is something to be said.
And it goes two ways too.
Exactly.
I would just say with the bottom line is we all want to be safe. We all want our loved ones to be safe, our neighborhoods, our streets to be safe. And so, it's part of an officer's job to give tickets. Now, can they exercise discretion on times when someone is just is deserving of a break? Yeah, absolutely they can. But some of those stops turn into bigger stops because, oftentimes, and we read about it in newspapers, someone who was on their way to commit a crime, for example, is pulled over, and that crime is prevented. Because sometimes what we focus on is the number of criminals, and another way to look at it is the number of victims. And we want to decrease the number of victims, and that's one of the things that community policing targets, is that by engaging people, we head off people that might commit a crime, people that aren't on the fence, or even people that would have, but for now there's been some engagement. Maybe they've been steered in a different direction, and now we've decreased the number of victims.
Right. Okay. All right.
But yeah, we've made some progress, but we got a ways to go. And I think those dialogues and I don't know if I can do a segue, because I did want to talk about the criminal justice reform panel, which was called Left, Right, and Center, Criminal Justice Reform in Missouri, that was hosted by hosting at Lindenwood, but was also co-sponsored by their criminal justice department in Lindenwood, but also our criminal justice department at St. Louis Community College, the Flo Valley campus. Professor Rachel Duchamp steered our planning committee, or chaired our planning committee. I served on that planning committee. We also had students get involved in the planning process, and so we had people from all over the state, legislators, experts in the fields, and we had a series of panels. And it went really well. And
tell me, again, what is the focus of it, and maybe the timeliness of that?
I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to have real discussions so we can hopefully effectuate real solutions.
Not just in this area.
No, this is regionally. We're talking regionally, statewide, not just here. I know everybody wants to talk about Ferguson, but I think we all know that these issues predate just Ferguson, and they're larger than just Ferguson. And so I think when we have these real conversations, and not yelling back and forth, but actually real conversations, which is what our whole aim was with the Criminal Justice Reform Summit, is what we called it. That's what we were getting at, and I think we made headway, and we're going to try to do this. We're going to try to do it annually.
Okay.
I think that's the goal, and so that's something that's in the works. We had great turnout. I think every panel was it was free, so I can't say sold out, but it booked up, if you will. Sure. But no, it turned out great. We had some really good discussions, and that didn't mean everybody was just agreeing. So when you have constructive dialogue, that means you're going to have some disagreements, but we're going to do it in a respectful, constructive manner.
Okay. As it relates to kind of that same genre, with the police department and those kind of law enforcement issues, talk about Ferguson. I mean, do you see where change has been made? From the outside, when people looking and say, well, what's changed? A year later. Do you see change, or do you see change in the process? Or
Jeff, I'm all about facts. And when I look at two things that were important to me, court reform and community policing, and you look at our courts now, many of the ordinances that were in question have been repealed. For example, the excessive failure to appear fines have been repealed. Revenue is not an option as far as with respect to our courts or our police department, for that matter. We have one of the best judges in the state, in Judge Donald McCullen, who is heading our courts right now, is serving as judge. And so when you look at where we were and where we are now, and what our courts are, and how our courts are treating everyone fairly, we implemented community service before as the bill SB 5, which required that. We had already done it. We repealed the failure to appears prior to any legislation. We were out front doing that. We did warrant recall here in Ferguson. um, which was not required, but we felt that that was fair, and given everything that happened. So the facts are, our courts have been, there is reform here, and more so than any other area right here in Ferguson. You look at the police department, what we were doing, particularly under Chief Anderson, implementing community policing, which involves that component, that community component.
Mm-hmm.
We had the town hall meetings, which you were there as well. We had establishing a steering committee. We brought an expert in, an objective person that can help us build a community policing model that's right for Ferguson, because it's going to be different for different cities. What works in Baltimore is not necessarily going to work in San Francisco, and definitely is not necessarily going to work here in Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
But helping us build a model that's appropriate for us. So when you look at the facts, if you want to listen to the rhetoric, that can go one way or the other. You know, some people say, yeah, everybody's doing it. Some people say, nope, not doing anything. Some saying not doing enough, whatever. But the facts are, the reforms that we've implemented in our courts are more progressive than any court in the region. What we've done in our police department are more or as progressive as any other police department in the region, and I'm proud of that. Now, having said that, am I patting myself on the back and saying, hey, mission accomplished, George Bush style? No, we still got more to do, and we're going to keep on pushing. But the facts are, we have effectuated change in here. And change in Ferguson, and we're going to continue to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you say? You know, there's still folks who live in the St. Louis area who don't, and not because of the events over the past year, so but just don't go to Ferguson. They haven't really been in Ferguson. They come, and then you go beyond that to the folks who live out of the area who are afraid to come to Ferguson.
Right.
Well, what do you say to I guess encourage people, or kind of separate the fact from fiction about this area?
Can I tell them directly? You're missing out. You're missing out on a fabulous city.
Why, what makes it? I mean, what makes it fabulous?
Well, first, the people. One reason that we've been able to implement so many reforms in the city is because the residents are behind it, by and large. I mean, when we have town hall meetings, when you're just out and talking to residents at the store, at restaurants, they're behind this. And so, and I use this example all the time. There was a gentleman who, during the tornadoes, he came out with his chainsaw helping clear debris, free of charge, helping as many people as he could. And unfortunately, he was stricken with cancer, and he passed. And we, Mark Byrne actually organized it, and we threw a fundraiser for him to help his family with some of the costs and things of that nature associated with his death. And so many people came out, people that didn't even know him. Ferguson residents came out just to support. And that's what you see in Ferguson. You have an event, you need volunteers for a great cause, you're going to see people come out helping. It's never an issue. And that's what makes Ferguson the city that I love. Now, having said that, like any place on the face of God's earth, there's going to be things that need to be changed. There's going to be imperfections. And so we got to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, what can we do better? And I think that's what you see happening. So, there's going to be some people that say, hey, I don't want to come there. Hey, you're missing out because you should be a part of it. I want everyone to be a part of it and feel a part of the solution.
All right. Wesley, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of City Matters. We'll see you next time.